So this is assisted living. Our situation is that my partner has a 90-year-old aunt. She lives in assisted living with a cat. And she's pretty sharp mentally. She's slowed down some, but that's not an issue. But she has a lot of physical challenges. And so assisted living actually assists her a lot, which is really great. There we go, there's the cat. So I guess we're done. We had two problems we had. One of them was that we wanted to monitor her space. We wanted to make sure her space was comfortable for her, that she's 90 years old, she likes it like 80 degrees all the time. And that there was fresh air at the same time. She thought that somebody was coming into the room late at night, and we were having a really difficult time verifying that or figuring out what was going on. And because she has some problems with her hands, she had a lot of difficulty opening and closing shades. So somebody coming in the room was the real concern, and we weren't sure whether it was a staff member checking on her, whether it was another resident. There were a bunch of possibilities. Aliens was not really all that likely, but however we dealt with this, we needed to make sure we respected her privacy and her autonomy and her dignity. So, for instance, putting a camera in was not actually going to work. We talked about it with her. We didn't think it was a good idea. She definitely didn't think it was a good idea, so that wasn't going to happen. So we made sure that we had consent for this. So we pretty much covered this, but we talked with her about the tech. We didn't intend for her to interact with the tech, and she's not a tech person. She was not excited about that, but she's totally fine with us taking care of it. But we made sure that she was informed and that she was able to and did consent to the monitoring that we were going to do. So the solution was environmental sensors, a contact sensor on the door, some motion sensors with night lights, which actually she liked, and a shade controller that could actually operate the shade chain so that she didn't have to grip it and pull it. The software that we're using is a piece of software called Home Assistant. Home Assistant is really well supported. There's a ton of resources out there. The people who make it, it's open source software, and it's better supported than some commercial software that I've used. It's very easy to run. It's very easy to set up to access remotely. There's several options on that. One of them is pay from the people who put it out, but again, it's free software. And then for technical people, there are a couple of options using Tailscale or Cloudflare to remotely access it. It has support for a huge variety of sensors. And it also can do a bunch of different types of notifications. There are apps for it on iOS and on Android. The apps can deliver notifications. You can do notifications over email, through Twilio for text messaging, Telegram, Slack, a bunch of different things. So if we wanted to be notified at 3 a.m. if somebody opened the door, which honestly we did not want to be, but if we did, we could set that up. For the sensors, we used a system called Zigbee. Zigbee is a radio protocol. It's similar to Wi-Fi and it's similar to Bluetooth. It's very low overhead. It's designed for low bandwidth, low power sensors. And it occupies the same frequency as Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. It's designed to coexist with them and not interfere with them. So really the best thing about Zigbee is that it's good with battery life. Wi-Fi is a battery killer, basically. Battery-operated devices on Wi-Fi, even if they're not, even if they're just like, hey, it's 70 degrees, hey, it's still 70 degrees, their battery life will be much worse than Bluetooth or Zigbee devices. And so not having to worry about changing the batteries every month or two is really helpful in this scenario. And Zigbee devices also tend to be low cost and small, and again, they work really well with Home Assistant. So just so if you're curious, this is a Zigbee radio, plugs into a USB port, could work with Linux system. Home Assistant runs on Linux. We're running it on a Raspberry Pi. Just Zigbee switch. Like you could just bash the switch. It's fairly large. You don't require fine motor control to operate this switch. And a door contact sensor. And again, no camera. Nobody wanted the camera. For the shades, we thought voice control could be good, and then she could just yell at it to open the shades. But while she's pretty cognitively clear, she's not great with learning command phrases, and unfortunately, like voice control is still pretty picky about how you say things. So that was not going to work. Home Assistant does offer some voice processing, and it's the kind of thing where if you're a tech person, you'll be fine with it. If you're not a tech person, you are going to want to throw it out the window. So we really wanted a mechanical solution, which is why we went with the switch. And these were the results. Home Assistant has the ability to build dashboards. It's very flexible. You can use third-party components if you don't like what it comes with. You can people make some really beautiful dashboards. Some of them would count as art. This is engineering. This isn't art. But we were able to get a log of when the door was opened. We could remotely activate her shades for her if she wanted. We were able to check the current temperatures, the air quality. And one thing that's pretty cool is Home Assistant has built-in graphing. So aside from just looking at the current temperature, if you want to see how much it's varied over the last day, it's very easy to do. And the answer for that was it doesn't vary. So her HVAC system's pretty good, and her air quality actually stayed good. So this was the answer. The door was being opened. Something was happening. And then she stopped noticing it and she didn't care anymore. So this is really unsatisfying. We never found out what was going on. It hasn't been an issue. She isn't noticing it. I'm not the point person to talk with the facility. And so I don't get to go to them and say, hey, were people checking in on her late at night? And I have not been able to get my partner to do that, so we just haven't gotten an answer. But we know it was a real thing, and then the door stopped opening. So I do wonder if it was a resident who was wandering the halls late at night and then wasn't there anymore, or realized that maybe they shouldn't be going in this old lady's room or whatever. And then we covered air quality. One thing we thought about doing for preserving privacy with a camera, this would have been the next step, but it required a lot more work. You can get infrared cameras. These are I don't mean like a regular video camera with infrared LEDs. I mean a camera with a bunch of receptors that are sensitive to infrared light. And these things tend to be very expensive, but you can get some really low resolution ones for like 30 or 40 bucks. Just a sensor and a board. The problem is there's no software to talk to that from Home Assistant, so we're capable of writing that, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. And what that would do is we could point it at the door, and then when the door opened, we could start taking snapshots from it, and we could track the heat blob. We wouldn't be able to like make out features or a face, but we would be able to track the blob to see, did it come into the room? Did somebody just poke their head in? You know, did it go anywhere in the room? And this is the next step we would have taken if we needed to, and we didn't. So if you're curious, here's some resources on Home Assistant and the various sensors that we got. The whole system's off the shelf. The software's off the shelf. The sensors are off the shelf. Raspberry Pi. These are some of the costs. Raspberry Pi has these very illusory costs. You know, it's like, oh, it's a, Raspberry Pi, it's like $35 or $40, but you need a power supply, and you probably want a case, especially if there's a cat around. These days you want a fan and you want heat sinks in the case. So it ends up costing quite a bit more. It's still a great deal, but Zigbee dongles are cheap. Sensors are cheap. You can, IKEA is invested in Zigbee. And so you can get some very stylish looking Scandinavian sensors and buttons and things like that that work with Zigbee. And they all integrate perfectly. The shade motor was the most expensive part. It's from a company called Soma Smart Shades, Soma Home, I think they call it. And they build this. There are very few products like this on the market. It will actually let you hook the chain for like normal shades onto this rotor. So you're not like putting a shade motor in the tube or anything like that. If these are shades that are third party or not shades you have autonomy over, this is a great way to deal with it. And that's it. Thanks.